Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 26. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. High 78, what it should have been over the weekend. Tonight and overnight, cloudy, low 67. And then Wednesday, mostly cloudy day, the high 85. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 61 and clear in Oyster Bay out on Long Island. 62 and clear in Clark over in New Jersey. And it's 59 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Knicks fans going nuts this morning. Missiles flying into Iran again. Protesters are pepper sprayed outside an immigration detention center in New Jersey. A Brooklyn dad desperate to find his son. Someone is sacrificing animals in the Hudson Valley. All right, let's get into it at 5:04. History made last night. The Knicks won. First time they've won the Eastern Conference Finals since 1999. It felt like they could not be bothered with this series anymore, sweeping the Cavaliers 4-zip, and they just blew them out last night. It felt like, do you remember Game 4 of the Sixers Knicks series where it felt like the Sixers had given up and the Knicks fan had taken over the Wells Fargo Arena in Philly? It felt like that last night as well. They beat the Cavs 130-93. The Cavs were never in this game. Here's Knicks coach Mike Brown.
You're in the playoffs, you're in the conference finals, and you score 65 points off of offensive rebounds and fast break points. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Neither have I.
I could say a lot about our team individually, especially 33 assists on 48 baskets, but our bench was fantastic.
Yeah, the bench was fantastic. Knicks center Karl Anthony Towns talking about the team's mindset following this series win.
This team's hungry, and that's the most important thing.
Yep.
Even with an amazing historical win we had tonight, the celebrations were minimal. We really want to get back to work. Obviously rust will be a thing, just not having shot in an NBA game in a while, but we'll do a better job this time around of just preparing for that kind of situation to happen.
And they're going to get a fair amount of rest because the series doesn't start until June 3rd. You want to hear from the losing coach, Kenny Atkinson from the Cavaliers, who probably will be out of a job.
I don't want to go and detract from our, what we've done this postseason. I think sometimes you got to give the other team credit for playing great basketball.
And more importantly, last night, the fans came outside Madison Square Garden. There was a fan meetup at Radio City where you could watch the game. And no matter where you went in the city last night, people were going out of their minds.
I was 13 years old. I'm 40 now. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yeah, here were some people outside Madison Square Garden, maybe a couple thousand from some shots overhead from helicopters.
I'm feeling amazing. Knicks in 4, we brought out the brooms again, and we ready for the finals. It don't matter who we play.
Okay, this should be fun. So the Knicks have ripped through Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. There has been minimal resistance along the way. Now they wait to see who wins the Oklahoma City-San Antonio series. That best of 7 is tied at 2 games apiece. 5:06, let's go out to Long Island where a neighborhood there had to shelter in place Memorial Day after flames shot high into the air from a propane tank. It was at the Island Greenery in Belmore that's normally filled with flowers, but yesterday firefighters came in. They realized this propane tank at the nursery was leaking, and they told neighbors to stay inside their house.
It's my first time looking at fire, and I never saw fire. I was scared.
So I called the fire department, and I said, I don't know if this is normal, but this has never happened.
Yeah, firefighters discovered that propane was leaking, so they started to burn off the gas to relieve the pressure while hosing off the area.
She was crying very hysterically. Everyone in the house had to cuddle her and explain to her that she's going to be fine.
First, we thought the Senior Citizen Center was on fire, but then I realized that the nursery next door has a 1,000-gallon propane tank.
Yeah, but the good news here is nobody was hurt. Now, apparently the tank was filled for the holiday weekend, but given all all the rain, people weren't using propane, and they think that's why it started to leak. They think it expanded.
With a cylinder this size, that could take us days to burn off the whole tank. So that's what the fire marshals right now are working with the private contractor to offload the propane in a safe manner.
Yeah, again, the good news is nobody hurt. WABC News Time 5:09. Voters heading to the polls in the Texas Republican primary runoff today for U.S. Senate. It's between Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton. It was last week that President Trump weighed into this race. He endorsed Paxton, turning the race on its head a little bit.
I'm so honored to have President Trump's endorsement. His endorsement, in my opinion, is the most significant endorsement that in my lifetime.
We'll find out if that endorsement is a big deal. Cornyn fell into disfavor with President Trump when he initially did not back him in the 2024 presidential run. Out to Orange County, California, where last night they held a press conference about the evacuation zone surrounding that failing chemical tank in Garden Grove. Apparently, it's been significantly reduced. The Garden Grove police chief explaining that there are some new boundaries about where people can go. Initially, they told 50,000 to evacuate. It's less now.
The new borders will consist of Orangewood Avenue to the north, Dale Street to the east, Knott Street to the west, and Garden Grove Boulevard to the south. Garden Grove Boulevard will restore flows of traffic in both the east and westbound directions. All off and on ramps of the 22 freeway will now remain open.
If you weren't following the story over the weekend, they were worried about a possible explosion, which would have been a total nightmare. That's not going to happen.
The most catastrophic and worst case scenario was mitigated and resolved. That was the case of a potential levee. It's not over yet, and I want to reemphasize that. It's not over yet. We still have work to do.
Yes, there's about 16,000 that are still unable to go home. Not clear when they will be able to. 5:11, U.S. military carrying out what it's calling self-defense strikes against Iranian missile launch sites, naval assets near the Strait of Hormuz. Yesterday, CENTCOM spokesperson Timothy Hawkins says that the action was taken to protect U.S. personnel from imminent threats posed by Iranian forces. He says the strikes targeted missile positions as well as Iranian boats attempting to lay naval mines in the area. Hawkins saying that U.S. forces are defending their troops while exercising restraint during this ongoing ceasefire. Now, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard saying this morning that they downed a U.S. Reaper drone that entered its airspace. We haven't gotten any confirmation from the Americans if that's really true. Meanwhile, you have Democrats who are just going on the attack over this war in Iran over the weekend. Senator Cory Booker, he was on the news shows criticizing President Trump's handling of Iran and the deal that is reportedly close. He says, how come there's no peace deal in place? He wants to know exactly what's going on.
So we haven't had an official briefing, but this is what I'm seeing that has me so outraged right now, is the president said he went into this to deal with their nuclear program. This does not deal with that.
Now, the senator argued that Iran did not have enriched uranium before President Trump's first term, but now they do because of him.
He's got us in a situation that's worse than it was before, a more extreme regime. The Strait of Hormuz now is a leveraging point for them. This weak nation has put America in a stalemate, and Donald Trump is being played as a fool that he is for getting us into this.
Now, over the weekend, we were told that they were pretty close to a ceasefire deal, but so far that has not happened. 5:13, the Ebola outbreak raising global concerns as fans prepare to travel for the World Cup to, guess where? Here. Isn't that frightening? With the games coming to New York and cities across the country, you have experts talking about the risk of Ebola spreading. And now they so far say it is low.
You have to be super sick and in the middle of an outbreak and around people who are dying and very sick with those bodily fluid exposure to get sick.
Now, that's Dr. Monica Gandhi. She's an infectious disease expert at UC San Francisco. She says people who are sick will not be getting on planes. The U.S. is also now limiting entry for non-U.S. citizens who have been in Congo, South Sudan, Uganda in the past 3 weeks. That's where Ebola is spreading. Still, last week, a flight to Detroit flight was diverted after a passenger from Congo boarded by mistake. 5:14, let's bring it home. Out to Chicago, where 5 Chicago police officers were recovering after they were hit by a car while trying to control one of these teen takeovers, which we've seen a lot of those across the tri-state. Well, they're happening across the country as well. This one took place on the west side of Chicago. One eyewitness giving her account of the scene as this driver slammed into this crowd.
It looked like millions of kids out here. Kids were all on top of their cars. They were stopping in the middle of the street, twerking, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, police say 3 officers remain hospitalized. An 18-year-old who allegedly drove that car is in custody. Police say the vehicle jumped a curb, slammed into a patrol car, a utility pole, and a fence before coming to a stop. A gun was also reportedly found inside that teenager's car. In a moment, we'll go to the Vatican, where Pope Leo has some things to say about AI. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden, and it is a good morning indeed. Probably the best morning for New York Knicks fans since the year 1999, the last time Knicks punched a ticket to the NBA Finals, and they did it again last night out in Cleveland. Karl Anthony Towns had 19 points and 14 rebounds. OG Anunoby scored 17. Then the Knicks routed the Cavaliers 130-93 to complete a 4-game sweep of the Eastern Conference Finals and advance to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Landry Shamet scored 16, off the bench, while Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson had 15 apiece for the Knicks, who became the 4th team to have an 11-game winning streak during their postseason run. The last to do it was Golden State, which had a 15-game run en route to its second title in 3 seasons in 2017. All but one of the Knicks' wins have been by double digits, with an average margin of victory of 23.7 points. Their largest lead last night was 45 points in the 4th quarter. New York will play the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder or San Antonio Spurs in the finals. The Western Conference Finals is tied at 2 games apiece, with Game 5 to be played in Oklahoma City tonight. The Thunder or Spurs will have home court advantage when the finals start on June 3rd because of a better regular season record. This will be the Knicks' 3rd appearance in the finals since winning their last title in 1973. They lost in 7 games to Houston in 1994 and in 5 to San Antonio in 1999. Jalen Brunson was named the MVP of the series after averaging 25.5 points and 7.8 assists throughout. Speaking of that Western...
This team feels like it could be beat either... Okay, I wouldn't have believed that at the beginning of the season, but the way they're playing, I don't know who stops them.
I'm right there with you. They're playing some of the best basketball I've seen a team in that uniform play in a very long time. And especially this core. It took a couple of years, for these guys really to mesh together. But I think you're seeing the culmination of that right now. And, it's hard to imagine them playing better basketball than they are at the moment. But, again, also, though, slow your roll a little bit. You got 4 more games to win. I know. And you don't want to see the city get too hot here and too ahead of themselves just to be let down. So we got 1 more series to go here, and we'll see if it's going to be the Spurs or the Thunder. You do have that Game 5 tonight. That series knotted once again at 2 games apiece. It's an 8:30 p.m. start tonight in Oklahoma City. The Thunder, they're 5.5-point home favorites. Head to the Diamond in Kansas City. Anthony Volpe answered Bobby Witt Jr.'s go-ahead homer in the 8th with a 2-run single in the 9th for New York, sending the Yankees to a 4-3 victory over the Royals in the opener of a 3-game series there. Tim Hill earned the win, while David Bednar worked around a 2-out walk in the 9th, earning his 12th save of the season. Cody Bellinger homered earlier in the game for the Yanks. Up next for him, the righty Cam Schlittler will get the start in tonight's middle game from Kansas City. First pitch there is scheduled for 7:40 p.m. In Queens, Mets lost 7-2 to the Reds in the opener of a 3-game set against Cincinnati, extending their losing streak to 4. Mets star Juan Soto missed his 2nd straight game because of illness, and fellow outfielder Tyrone Taylor left with right hip pain after grounding out in the 6th inning. Up next for the Mets, lefty David Peterson will get the start in tonight's 2nd game of 3 against Cincy. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. That is your Sports Noah, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 520. Pope Leo's guidance on preserving human dignity in the face of AI, artificial intelligence, is out in the form of his first major theological document. He laid this out over the weekend, released this lengthy encyclical this weekend, warning that technology like AI is fueling global conflicts
Leo's previously raised concerns over the use of AI in the military, warning the delegation of decisions of life and death to machines could create a destructive spiral. He's also criticised what he says is the environmental devastation caused by harvesting the rare earth minerals used in modern technology. William Denslow, Brussels.
5:21, back to Washington, D.C. Out at Arlington National Cemetery, the president honoring those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country on Memorial Day. He spoke at Arlington National Cemetery to mark the day.
We honor those who fell so that our republic might stand, those who died so that our nation could live, those who gave up their sacred light on earth so that the sublime light of American freedom would shine forever and ever.
The president also taking part in a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier.
To every person here and across America who holds tight to the memory of a warrior taken from them, we will never, ever forget the ones you loved. Gold Star family members, please stand.
Now, the president also talking about the fact that he wants people to remember those war dead from even the early days, Revolutionary War.
Today, we are reminded that there could be no 4th of July without America's armed forces, and there could be no Independence Day without Memorial Day. This is the unyielding spirit that has always set Americans apart and driven generations of American warriors into battle, their chests beating with the cry that says, "We will govern ourselves."
For everyday Americans who took out time to remember the war dead, there were the others, of course, that were out on vacation. We're watching them come back today. TSA lines at the big 3 area airports long this morning as people waited till Monday was over to go back home.
They're extremely long. I wish they were shorter, but I understand this is a holiday weekend, so a lot of folks are going different places, so understandable.
If you bought a ticket after the Iran war started, you probably paid a whole lot more than the guy sitting next to you who may have bought that ticket before the war started.
I purchased a ticket a while back, so it really wasn't too bad. But as we got closer, I did see that the prices started to go up a little bit. So, yeah, the tickets are going up.
Yeah, so far today, we're not seeing any serious delays. So that's good news. 5:23.
Lift off with a Falcon 9 rocket on Starlink 10-47.
SpaceX successfully launching another Falcon 9 rocket this Memorial Day, adding more satellites to its Starlink network with the launch from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The rocket carrying 29 Starlink satellites that will be deployed into a low Earth orbit. This marks the 28th flight for the Falcon 9 booster, which after separation landed on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. 5:23, down to Washington, where House Speaker Mike Johnson talking about the shooting that took place outside the White House over the weekend. He says the temperature needs to be turned down in the U.S. following Saturday's shooting outside the White House. After the shooting left the suspect dead and a civilian injured, he says we're living in a heightened threat environment that needs to be brought back down.
I keep telling my Democrat colleagues, you cannot demonize the other side, call them Nazis, call the president a threat to democracy and all that, and expect that some crazy people will not be triggered by it. We got to turn that down.
Johnson says President Trump accepts the risk as part of the duty and job, but he says this is ridiculous at this point with so many shootings.
He accepts it as part of the responsibility, the duty of the job, the risk of the job. Says a lot about him. And everybody understands that we're in a heightened threat environment. The president has had 3 failed assassination attempts, that were direct. I was with him for 2 of the 3. It's becoming too common.
Yeah, way too common. 5:24, Long Island Congressman Tom Suozzi urging Republicans to back his bipartisan legislation that would block President Trump's newly created anti-weaponization fund. Here's the Democrat on ABC.
Nobody supports this idea, especially in the context of all the problems Americans are facing with the cost of living. They don't want to see a $1.8 billion fund to pay people that beat up cops.
Democrats, Republicans questioning whether the taxpayer funds could be used by people who were involved in the January 6, 2021 riots on the Capitol.
The purpose of the checks and balances in government so that one branch of government does something stupid or wrong, the other branch holds them accountable. And this is clearly the wrong thing to do.
President Trump says the nearly $1.8 billion fund will help those who they believe the federal government unfairly targeted during the Biden administration. 525, we're hearing the 911 call that was made after Kyle Busch collapsed last week. The caller reporting that the 41-year-old was very hot, experiencing breathing problems, was coughing up blood. This was in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I've got an individual that's shortness of breath, very hot, thinks he's going to pass out, and is producing a little bit of blood.
Yeah, so the call was made from the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center in Concord, North Carolina, where Busch was getting ready for his next race. He was driving in a racing simulator when he suddenly collapsed. The Busch family posted that he was hospitalized with a severe illness and then was abruptly pulled from this Coca-Cola race. But then, of course, as we know now, he passed away.
He is awake. He's awake. He's on the bathroom floor right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, he died a short time after that. The family said he had been suffering from cold-like symptoms for a number of weeks before that took place. The clock is ticking for the Bears. It looks like they're going to leave Chicago. And over the weekend, you had Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago revealing that he took some last-minute meetings with the management of the Bears, trying to convince them to stay in Chicago. But now it looks like, very likely, they'll move over the border to Indiana.
Recent conversations as recently as April have always been designed around what terms can we agree upon for our publicly owned stadium that the people of Chicago will benefit from.
Yeah, so the NFL team releasing a statement over the weekend said they have exhausted every opportunity to build a new stadium in Chicago, and it looks like they will go to Hammond, Indiana, which is about 35 minutes away from Chicago.
New York opinions, New York attitude. You've got a voice. This is Talk Radio 77 WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 26. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today, high 78. Tonight and overnight, cloudy, low 67. And then Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 85. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are, 61 and clear in Oyster Bay out on Long Island, 62 and clear in Clark and over in New Jersey, and it's 59 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:38. Let's head over to Newark, New Jersey, where emotions were running really high all weekend long outside the Delaney Hall Immigration Detention Center there as families, lawmakers, advocates raising concerns about the conditions inside, calling for detainees to be released or receive better care. Here are some of the protests.
It's incredible that they're doing this to people that are basically just asking for the due process to happen.
Now, there were people out there with loved ones inside. One young boy saying that her father is being held at the facility, allegedly not receiving medication for diabetes. Others sharing similar concerns in the case of a student detained just outside Kane University who was brought to this facility, who said that he was ready to take exams. Now he's stuck in this facility. This woman says her husband's being detained, has lived in South Jersey for 25 years.
I'm hearing rumors that they're moving people, and of course, like, he's my loved one. I don't want him to be moved anywhere. And in the middle of all that chaos that happened, they did throw a bullet thing at me. They hit me.
It got very chaotic outside this detention center a number of times over the weekend. Lawmakers showed up. You had Governor Mikey Sherrill, New Jersey Senator Andy Kim tried to get into the facility. They were turned away. Pepper spray was used on protesters at one point. Some of that pepper spray hitting the senator.
My throat's burning, my eyes are burning. But again, it's not about me. Several have told me that they are being threatened with retaliation, saying that if you continue with this protest, we will transfer you, we will cut off visitation rights from family.
This type of facility shows exactly why we should not have private mass detention facilities.
Now, some inside the detention center are reportedly on a hunger strike. Now, the Department of Homeland Security disputes those claims. They say nobody's on a hunger strike taking place at the facility, and they say that the facilities are fine. And they say the people that are being held there committed a crime by crossing the border illegally and staying here without gaining American citizenship, and they say they deserve to be locked up. The protesters, they say they will be back out there outside Delaney Detention Facility in Newark a little bit later this morning. 541 out to Brooklyn, where one man is dead, another in the hospital after a shooting inside a Brooklyn laundromat yesterday. Happened near Utica Avenue J. That's in the Flatlands. This guy came in, started shooting up the place. A 41-year-old who was shot was pronounced dead at the scene. A 68-year-old who was doing his laundry was grazed in the foot. This man was with his family doing laundry when the bullets started to fly.
I was washing my clothes, and then the shot started coming. It was about 5 to 6 shots, and then we go to the floor and went into the bathroom. So we locked the door.
Yeah, so he locks the door. He takes everybody else that he can that's in the laundromat into that bathroom with him, closes the door. They hear the bullets continue to fly. They wait till there's no more bullets, sounds of gunfire anymore. Then they open the door to see what exactly took place.
We all were trying to save our life because we don't know where the shot is coming from. And when the police came, so we come out, and then there was someone dead.
Yeah, so the NYPD, as of this morning, they told us they have not made any arrests, and they continue to investigate, but they do think there may be something gang-related here, that they were aiming for the person that was shot dead. 542, family from Queens speaking out on what was National Missing Children's Day on Monday, and boy, you hear the heartache of this dad who has a 15-year-old son whose name is Jafet Jamo. He disappeared in the Rockaways last November, right around Thanksgiving. The family says it's been a nightmare for them without him because they have no idea where he is, but they still believe he's alive. Now, according to police, this 15-year-old was last seen leaving his home in the Rockaways around 6 a.m. Thanksgiving.
The more I think about him, the much more difficult it is for me to sleep or eat.
Yeah, they can understand that. So a phone tracking app placed that teenager near Beach 73rd Street outside the Rockaway YMCA. His phone battery was almost dead. They could see that on the app. And then it went dark after that. The family says surveillance video later showed the 15-year-old boarding a Q52 and getting off near Beach 95th Street. But that's where the trail has ended. They don't have a whole lot more information than that. But they say Jamo was a happy-go-lucky kid who was doing well in school, loved soccer and technology, but they worried if someone lured him away from his family online.
We have the strong feeling that maybe someone he had contact, maybe via the internet.
Now, this is the amazing part. So since yesterday was National Missing Kids Day, we were getting some numbers about the number of New York families who are looking for missing kids. It is 1,000 families across New York who have missing children today. 1,000 families. I mean, that's unbelievable. So this is just one of the many families. And this dad says, of course, to his last breath, he's going to continue to look for his son.
If Jafet himself can hear me right now, I would like him to know that we have not given up on him. We are searching for him every day.
Yeah, let's hope he eventually is found and is able to come back home. In a moment, we will go up to the Hudson Valley where police are trying to figure out why there are dead animals laying on some streets there. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Lighton. Sports sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to Peerless Boilers PeerlessSpoilers.com to find a dealer near you. Peerless Spoilers, the world's best built of boilers, and for the first time since 1999, our New York Knicks punched their ticket to the NBA Finals out in Cleveland. Karl Anthony Towns had 19 points and 14 rebounds. OG Anunoby scored 17, and the Knicks routed the Cavaliers once again, 130-93, to complete a 4-game sweep of the Eastern Conference Finals and advance to the NBA Finals once again for the first time since 99. Landry Shamet scored 16 off the bench, while Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson had 15 apiece for the Knicks, who became the fourth team to have an 11-game winning streak during their postseason run. The last to do it was Golden State, which had a 15-game run en route to its second title in 3 seasons in 2017. All but one of the Knicks' wins have been by double digits, with an average margin of victory of 23.7 points. The largest lead last night was 45 points in the fourth quarter. Rested their starters for the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game. New York will play the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder or San Antonio Spurs in the finals. The Western Conference Finals between the two is tied at 2 games apiece. Game 5 to be played in Oklahoma City tonight. Thunder or Spurs will have home court advantage when the finals start on June 3rd because of a better regular season record. This will be the Knicks' third appearance in the finals since winning their last title in 1973. They lost in 7 games to Houston in 1994 and in 5 to San Antonio in 1999. Jalen Brunson was named the MVP of the series after averaging 25.5 points and 7.8 assists throughout. And speaking of that Western Conference Finals matchup tonight, it's Game 5, 8:30 p.m. start out in Oklahoma City. Series knotted at 2 games apiece, and the Thunder head in as 5.5-point home favorites.
Have you been watching Wembanyama? Like, just is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's
taking
a
over the series.
He is a beast. But again, on the other side, you've got the league MVP and Shai. So, I mean, it's a great matchup. It's been a great series out west there. Obviously tied at 2 games apiece. You got a decisive Game 5 tonight. See who jumps out ahead 3 games to 2. But, I think going in, I'm going to take the Thunder in this one at home. 5.5-point favorites. Take them with the points, and we'll see if they cover. That's my game plan
this
there.
This could easily go 7.
Without a doubt, yeah. I think. And the Knicks dealt well with that big break between the last series they had and the Eastern Conference Finals that they just wrapped up against the Cavaliers. And they, came out a little flat in Game 1, having to come back from that big 22-point lead to get that Game 1 victory. But
this will be a longer break, by the way, than there was between the last series.
Yeah, but I still think, if you're the Knicks, you're welcoming that a little bit of a rest period heading into your first NBA Finals appearance in, 27 years? So,
yeah, it's a little more than a week, so.
Yep. As a Knicks fan, I would say, you want to see this Western Conference Finals series go 7 games, if that. Out in Kansas City on the diamond, Anthony Volpe answered Bobby Witt Jr.'s go-ahead homer in the 8th with a 2-run single in the 9th for New York, sending the Yankees to a 4-3 victory over the Royals in the opener of a 3-game set. Up next for the Yanks, righty Cam Schlittler will get the start in tonight's middle game from Kansas City. First pitch there, 7:40, and out in Queens, the Mets lost 7-2 to the Reds in the opener of a 3-game set against Cincinnati, extending their losing streak to 4. Up next for the Mets, celebrity David Peterson will get the start in tonight's second game of 3 against Cincy. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. there. That is your Sports Know-em, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to PeerlessBoilers.com. Find a deal under you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. If you're a zoo worker, the last place you want to slip and fall while doing your job is in the lion enclosure. Maybe the second place is where they keep the crocodiles. That was the case for a Bronx zoo worker who's in the hospital recovering after being bitten by a crocodile over the weekend. Zoo officials say the animal keeper was cleaning an enclosure on Sunday afternoon when he slipped and fell. And that's when the crocodile had his moment, bit the worker in the arm. Thankfully, he's going to be okay. The employer is sent to the hospital where he is being treated. While we're talking animals, up in the Putnam County, the SPCA investigating another case of decapitated animals that may have been sacrificed. We get this story every once in a while. In this case, it was birds, 2 roosters, 2 doves found over the weekend on the side of the road off Milltown Road in Brewster. Their heads had been cut off and the blood had been drained from their animals. Now, this is the woman who found them.
It weirded me out because around here you will find livestock. So I didn't know if maybe something had died and someone just dumped it, but to hear that there was mutilation involved is definitely disturbing.
Yeah, so officials with the SPCA said the bird mutilation may have been part of a ritual because they've seen stuff like this before.
I've seen a lot of this stuff. We just don't have enough to point a finger and say, yes, this is exactly what it is. But appearances is that it was a ritualistic killing.
Yes, that's the Putnam County SPCA law enforcement chief, Ken Ross. He's telling News 12 that they dealt with 4 similar incidents last year, another one last month, and one case last year. He said a goat's head was found in a bag along with some coconuts and literature about animal sacrifice. Well, that's just downright bizarre. In this case, they don't know who's behind it, but they say maybe somebody out there knows, and then they say if you do, you should give the Putnam County SPCA a holler. Forest rangers in New York talking about this rescue that they made last week with a man who was stuck in a crevice in a cave for 6 hours. The unidentified Brooklyn man was hiking with friends at Merlin's Cave, that's in the town of Canaan up in Columbia County, when he became stuck in a crevice. Now, they described this crevice as being just as big as the man, and he was unable to get out. The man apparently had slipped into it from the cave entrance, and they weren't really sure how to get him out because he could not move any part of his body. But the rescuers who eventually did get him out say he was pretty calm during the whole thing.
That's like their worst nightmare. So he did such a great job keeping a positive attitude. He was giving me thumbs up. We were telling jokes.
Yeah, the rescue crew was able to use a rock drill, apparently, to carefully remove parts of the surrounding stone that were inches from his head until they were able to finally convince him to wiggle his way out, and he did. He was able to wiggle his way out and stand on his own, taken to the hospital to be warmed up after being into that cave some 7 hours. 5:54, of course, yesterday was Memorial Day. There were commemorations here in the city. Elected officials, veterans, service members taking part in an annual ceremony on the Intrepid Air Space Museum on Manhattan's West Side.
The sacrifice of those who made the trade represents the true, staggering cost of freedom. It is almost impossible to fully comprehend the sheer scale of the lives given over 250 years.
Admiral Carl Thomas, he's commander of U.S. Fleet Forces, says the nation's freedom has been defended fiercely and violently. The ceremony included a rifle salute, unfurling of an American flag, wreaths placed in the Hudson. If you've never seen this ceremony, I highly recommend it. It's solemn, but also inspiring at the same time.
The men and women we honor today came from every corner of America, from every background and every walk of life, united by commitment to something greater than themselves.
Mayor Mamdani took part in the ceremony yesterday.
Today we remember those who made it so, those to whom we hold an obligation that can never be entirely fulfilled, to build a city and a nation worthy of their service and worthy of their sacrifice.
And for the rest of us, it was just a washout of a weekend. Oh my! I mean, yesterday by noon or so, it was just beautiful, and you were like, why couldn't the rest of the weekend be like this? Down at shore towns, of course, this is not what they want because the amount of time they have to make money is a very short period of time. It's the summer weekends is where they make their big bucks. There were visitors out on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights over the weekend, but not a lot of them because it was at points raining pretty hard.
We figure we come to Jersey Shore, have a good time, even though the weather's bad. It doesn't matter, ain't stopping us. We're all out here having a great time.
Yeah, so the boardwalk was open. All the gaming places were open, the restaurants too. They, of course, have their outdoor cafes. Nobody was sitting there. There was a lot of rain. I mean, so it scared off a lot of people, but others said, okay, I'm down here already. I might as well get out and do something.
If you look down the boardwalk, it's raining, but the kids are still out. They're playing the games. They're having fun. There's no problems going on.
Now, this is the big deal, though, because for the people who own businesses, especially along the boardwalk or nearby, they have about 8 or 10 weeks? Was it 10 weeks? I count fast. About 10 weeks between Memorial Day and Labor Day to make their money. And the weekends, of course, is the biggest time to do that. So to have a washout for an entire 3-day weekend, That was not good.
If you have a bad day today, you don't make it up tomorrow.
No.
So that's the problem now. We have a 10-week season with a lot of good shoulder events.
All right, so the good news is there's 9 more weeks of summer. All right, 5:57, traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joel Nolan.
At the dinner last night at one of those boardwalk places on the second floor. They have a restaurant, and downstairs it's a bar and a club, and it was empty when we left. There was nobody in there.
That's not good.
Downstairs, no, it wasn't good. But, there were a lot of people around, but still nowhere near what it would have been if it had been a nice weekend.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?